I want to begin with something that may sound uncomfortable, maybe even painful. There are seasons in life when the greatest gift God, fate, destiny, or circumstance can give you is not more friends, not more support, not more applause, not more validation, but distance, silence, and solitude. Let me tell you something. Most people are terrified of being alone, not because solitude is painful, but because when the noise disappears, they are finally forced to meet themselves. And many people spend their entire lives avoiding that meeting. Think about this for a moment. You can walk into a crowded room and still feel lonely. You can have 10,000 followers and still feel empty. You can receive messages all day and still have no connection with your own soul. Because loneliness and solitude are not the same thing. Loneliness says, nobody is with me. Solitude says, now I finally have time to become who I was meant to be. And that distinction changes everything. Years ago, I met a man who completely transformed the way I viewed success. He wasn't famous. He wasn't wealthy when I met him. He didn't have a large audience. In fact, most people would have overlooked him completely. Every morning at 5 o'clock, he would wake up, put on an old jacket, and walk alone for nearly an hour. No music, no phone, no podcasts, no distractions. Just him and his thoughts. One day I asked him, why do you walk alone every morning? He smiled and he said something I'll never forget. He said, because if I don't spend time leading myself, I'll spend the rest of the day being led by everyone else. What a powerful statement. If I don't spend time leading myself, I'll spend the rest of the day being led by everyone else. You see, here's what most people don't understand. The world is constantly trying to tell you who you should be. Social media has an opinion. Your friends have an opinion. Your family has an opinion. Your coworkers have an opinion. Strangers have opinions. Everyone has instructions for your life. But very few people ever create enough silence to hear their own voice. And when you never hear your own voice, you spend years building a life that doesn't belong to you. You chase goals you don't even want. You impress people you don't even respect. You buy things you don't even need. You become successful by society's standards while feeling empty inside because somewhere along the journey, you lost contact with yourself. And intentional solitude is the road back home, not isolation, not hiding, not running away from responsibility. Intentional solitude, there is a difference. Isolation weakens you. Solitude strengthens you. Isolation is escaping people. Solitude is discovering yourself. Isolation is fear. Solitude is growth. Think about every great transformation story you've ever heard. The athlete training before dawn. The entrepreneur working after everyone sleeps. The artist practicing when nobody is watching. The author writing chapter after chapter in an empty room. The visionary spending years developing ideas before the world notices. Growth often happens in private before it becomes visible in public. The roots grow before the tree rises. And yet modern culture teaches us something completely different. It teaches us to fear silence. The moment we are alone, we reach for a screen. The moment we are uncomfortable, we seek distraction. The moment we feel uncertainty, we search for entertainment. Anything to avoid being alone with our own thoughts. But what if the answers you've been searching for are hiding inside the very silence you've been avoiding? Think about that. What if your next breakthrough is waiting in solitude? What if your next level requires separation? What if your future is asking you to spend more time listening and less time reacting? I learned something years ago. Your life changes dramatically when you become comfortable walking alone. Not because you stop loving people, not because relationships stop mattering, but because your identity stops depending on constant approval. And that's freedom. Real freedom. Imagine waking up every day, no longer needing everyone to agree with your decisions. Imagine pursuing your dreams even when nobody understands them. Imagine staying committed when nobody is cheering. Imagine remaining disciplined when nobody is watching. That kind of strength is built in solitude. Character is built in solitude. Discipline is built in solitude. Vision is built in solitude. Self-respect is built in solitude. You see, the crowd can motivate you, but only solitude can reveal you. And that's where the transformation begins. There was a young woman I once heard about who worked a regular job, nothing extraordinary, average income, average circumstances, average opportunities. But she had extraordinary determination. Every evening after work, she spent 2 hours alone learning new skills, no recognition, no applause, no audience. While her friends spent their evenings scrolling endlessly through distractions, she invested in herself day after day, week after week, month after month, year after year. The compound effect began working. And here's the fascinating thing about the compound effect. It doesn't care whether you're famous. It doesn't care about your background. It doesn't care where you started. Small actions repeated consistently create extraordinary outcomes, and solitude creates the environment where those small actions can happen. Eventually, that woman changed careers, then doubled her income, then started helping others. People looked at her success and called her lucky, but they never saw the lonely evenings. They never saw the sacrifices. They never saw the silent investment. They saw the harvest. They never saw the planting. And that's how success works. The world celebrates public victories, but victories are born in private. Here's what most people don't understand about intentional solitude. It doesn't just improve your success. It improves your judgment. When you're constantly surrounded by noise, your thinking becomes borrowed. You begin absorbing opinions without examining them. You start reacting instead of reflecting. You become emotionally manipulated by whatever is loudest. But solitude creates clarity, and clarity creates power. Think about a muddy glass of water. Shake it continuously, and it remains cloudy. Leave it still long enough, and everything settles. Your mind works the same way. Most people don't need more information. They need more reflection. They don't need another motivational video. They need time to process what they've already learned. They don't need another strategy. They need enough silence to recognize the strategy they've been ignoring. And that's why walking alone can become one of the most powerful habits in your life. A simple walk. No destination, no agenda, just movement and thought. Something remarkable happens when the body moves and the mind becomes quiet. Problems become clearer. Solutions emerge. Emotions settle. Perspective returns. The things that felt overwhelming suddenly become manageable. The things that seemed confusing suddenly make sense because wisdom often whispers. And whispers cannot be heard in crowded rooms. Let me ask you something. When was the last time you sat alone without any distraction? No phone, no television, no notifications, no music, just you. For many people, that question creates anxiety. And that anxiety reveals something important. If you cannot sit comfortably with yourself, how can you expect to build a fulfilling life with yourself? The relationship you have with yourself determines the quality of every other relationship. And solitude strengthens that relationship. You begin understanding your fears. You begin understanding your habits. You begin understanding your patterns. You begin understanding your potential. And once awareness increases, transformation becomes possible because you cannot change what you refuse to examine. There is another truth that people rarely talk about. Some levels of growth require temporary separation, not because other people are bad, but because environments influence identity. If you plant a seed in poor soil, it struggles. If you plant it in fertile soil, it flourishes. The same principle applies to your mind. Some people constantly feed your doubts. Some people constantly reinforce your limitations. Some people unintentionally keep you attached to an outdated version of yourself. And there comes a moment when growth requires space. The courage to spend time alone. The courage to hear your own thoughts. The courage to build your own standards. The courage to discover who you are when nobody else is defining you. That courage changes everything. I remember hearing about a man who felt trapped in life Every day looked the same. Wake up, work, complain, debt, sleep, eat, repeat. Years passed. Nothing changed. Then one day he made a simple decision. Every morning he would spend 30 minutes alone thinking about his future. 30 minutes. That's all. No magic. No secret formula. Just intentional reflection. At first, nothing happened. Then he started writing ideas. Then he started setting goals. Then he started noticing opportunities. Then he started taking action.